A free speech battle is brewing in Florida between the state's Board of Education and the Alachua County School Board, all because of a Facebook post. It started after School Board Vice Chair Tina Certain had some things to say about conservative Charlie Kirk in September regarding his memorial. This is the post that set off a political firestorm. Tina Certain called Kirk a, quote, 31-year-old uneducated white boy, end quote. Now, state officials are calling her comments offensive and questioning whether she should stay in leadership. The drama unfolded as all 7 state board members grilled her in a tense meeting, questioning whether she could fairly represent all students. Check this out.
I'd just like the opportunity to respond, just because I know a memo that I issued in the immediate aftermath of an assassination that took place on a school campus. Whether it's Bernie Sanders or Charlie Kirk, I've said it from the beginning, that same memo would have been sent. Educators are over young, impressionable minds, and when they are making comments celebrating a school shooting, it is unacceptable. You criticize that memo. So do you encourage such acts to be expressed by teachers? I think you do, and that's why your leadership continues to be a failure. You continue to not understand the point that this state board is trying to communicate to you. You are an example for these children. You are an elected member of a school board setting policy that impacts their daily lives. And so you want to criticize me all day, you have that First Amendment right. But the reality is, what I did was make sure that teachers across the state understood that this rhetoric that is impacting the wife of our lieutenant governor, where people are receiving death threats as a result of that rhetoric, needs to be toned down. Why, teachers? Because they're over children, young, impressionable minds. And that is my job as the Commissioner of Education, to make sure that we reminded them of what the example was that they were, something you still struggle with. And today, these posts that you're seeing are not just about Charlie Kirk. There is a repeated pattern, as our member just identified, Layla Collins. You talk about Charlie Kirk as an uneducated white boy. You bring race into this. You talk about this post as it relates to Asian stores, where it says, in 1999, I went to the Beauty Max on Main Street, my then 4-year-old daughter. They followed us around the store. It goes on today to say, as a result of that experience, to this day, I've never been back. I avoid all Asian-owned stores. How do you think those comments make that community feel? And then we go on to the next post, number 3, where it says, in the district operated by A. Green, these again are your words, they move in and then want to change things, SMH. I figured my they is white people. Again, you bring that into your posts. It's ironic that you criticize Charlie Kirk's comments and not recognize that you do you bring race into your post. The next slide, part 4. You like a post that says, white women have always been central to building, maintaining, and protecting racial violence. They weren't the sidelines, they were the architects too. Again, what the board's point is having you recognize and appreciate the significance and the responsibility you hold as a member of a school board that makes decisions that impact children. And what is the example that you are setting for children? This is not the kind of behavior we want to see in our school system. We want to see civil discourse, respectful dialogue. I agree with you. I am a fundamental believer in the First Amendment. But what we are not going to allow happen in this school system in Florida is students be misled by adults into engaging in violent political rhetoric or calling people out because of the way God created them. We want everybody to be treated equally.
Tina Certain stands her ground, insisting her posts are constitutionally protected speech made on her own time, not related to her official duties. This drama is unfolding while Florida is embroiled in a much larger free speech battle. Teachers and school officials across the state have faced discipline, backlash, and even lawsuits over social media posts reacting to Charlie Kirk's death. I'm going to go back to the panel with this. Matt, I'm going to start with you if you don't mind. So this, y'all know how I feel about this racist Charlie Kirk. Okay, so I'm going to go to you in just a minute. And Charlie Kirk has a history of anti-black statements that he said that are documented. Okay, what are your thoughts on this nonsense coming out of former Confederate state Florida?
I think it's a crock of bull. I think it's BS, and I think there are a couple things here that are particularly, big to me. The first is this sister is duly elected. So we're not talking about a teacher in a public school being excoriated by the state board. We're talking about a public servant who was voted into the office that she holds. Now, before I go on, Florida has weird laws about who the governor can take out of office and stuff. I'm not used to seeing some of the way their government works. So I don't know if they have any real, control over her being in or out of her seat. But presuming they don't, I mean, to sit there and condescend to her as though the board can actually do anything about it is probably more about that cat, or whatever his name was, Kostassos, I think it was a Greek last name, about him getting a soundbite, right, and getting to look like he's this crusader for decorum. And there's not any real end game besides using her as a whipping post. Now, in candor, I will say when you're elected, you do have to consider that what you say is obviously going to be scrutinized, and surely Miss Certain knows that. But good for her standing on her ground. I mean, I do think that it is probably not in the best form to say things that could be racially incendiary, like in talking about the Asian businesses. I know there will be people who will disagree with me. That seems to be a little bit of an own goal, if I'm honest. But with respect to Charlie Kirk in particular, Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was vitriolic, and vitriolic about black people in particular, and all of these people who have made him a martyr are completely intellectually dishonest when they call anybody out saying anything about him. I mean, literally, Charlie Kirk was talking about people having to die in order to protect the right for guns. So it is not, intellectually dishonest to say that he died talking about something he was espousing. I mean, that's literally true based on what he said. So I think this is intellectually dishonest. I think if you are truly a free speech proponent, you can't be beating her up or mad at her for what she's saying. And then the whole thing about, all these children and all that stuff. What about the kids who are hearing what Charlie Kirk says? When they go to the classroom with a black kid and they treat that kid like he or she is less than they are because they heard it at home and dad was watching Charlie Kirk on YouTube, right? He's not worried about that. And that's because it's about rhetoric and it's ideology, and it's not really about protecting the kids. It's about, beating the drum that you think needs to be beaten. That's all this is. I think it's nonsense, and it is protected speech.
Right. Now, Wayne Cooney, let's get the straight. Charlie Kirk is an unqualified college dropout. Okay. He is an unqualified white boy. And he did talk about prowling blacks. He was a proponent of the Great Replacement theory. He did say on January 23rd, 2024 on the Charlie Kirk show, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He did say that George Floyd was scum. Okay. And he also did have negative things to say about Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, Ketanji Brown Jackson when it came to affirmative action, and said, you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. So what are your thoughts on this unqualified white male college dropout, Charlie Kirk? And also the attack on Sister Tina Certain for standing up for her rights.
A few thoughts. Number one, Tina innocent, okay? There was not one lie that Tina said in that particular Facebook quote. I agree with Matt. Some of the comments about Asian American, etc., were incendiary. But in terms of what she said about, him, she was absolutely spot on. Charlie Kirk was a bigot. He was open about that. He was uneducated. He did drop out of school. And he was also able to raise millions and millions of dollars in building Turning Point USA, which is one of the biggest parts of the Republican Party now, and how they actually are able to touch students on college campuses. It's a breeding ground for bigotism in this country and white supremacy, and it's absolutely something that has to be stopped. Now, as a black person, I don't celebrate the death of anyone, right? But I don't believe that that's what she was doing in that post. What she was speaking is speaking facts. And as you guys were talking about Florida it's not a formally Confederate state. It's still very Confederate as far as I'm concerned. I was raised in South Florida. I'm a voter in Florida. And it is still an extremely racist state. And so it is really, really important that we are questioning these types of racial rhetoric, especially when they're being, pillaged in the schools by someone like Charlie Kirk. Now, I think, like Matt said, Ms. Certain may want to think a little bit more about the personal views that she's putting online as someone who is elected in office, right? But I think if we're talking about the First Amendment and we're talking about what someone's putting on Facebook, the United States and Florida particularly needs to come to a concerted agreement on what is permissible and not permissible from an elected official. We can't have someone that's sitting president in the highest office of the United States saying grab them by the pussy and then being upset when other people are stating their views. If we're talking about leading by example, we got to be really, really, really crisp on what that means and what that looks like for the next generation.
It's only free speech. They're only for free speech when it's coming from them. They're only for free speech, just like the Republicans today, just like Trump and the Trump administration. They're only for free speech when it's coming from it's anybody else. They want to try to get them pulled off the air, get them fired, get them shut down, things of this nature. It's only the free speech that they advocate for is only coming from them. All right, now I want to go to this segment from Roland Martin, Unfiltered, where Roland broke down the history of anti-black statements that Charlie Kirk has made. And he was talking to Lauren Victoria Burke on this show. This is from last week. GOP political theater, Dems boxed in as Republicans put sanitized Kirk resolution. I think this is the right one.
All right, so you made a point about what Tara Setmeyer posted last night. It's about a 6-minute video. I actually want to play that so people can actually hear for themselves. So this is what she posted on Twitter last night.
One more thing that's on my mind tonight, and conservatives everywhere, the idea that people are saying, well, he was an extremist, or he was a racist, or he was a Nazi, or a misogynist, whatever. Charlie Kirk was a mainstream conservative Republican. He had views that are held by tens of millions of people, including more than half the country in the last election.
If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. It begs the question, when you see a black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. And in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are black. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic black woman, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. The war on white people continues. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles. LeBron James is a self-interested, narcissistic, and we know he's not very smart. You're representing your nation. You're selfish sociopath, not very bright, not wise, not somebody of good character. She is a shame to the country. Blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today. Data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. Let's get loud for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm also going to offer some context and some nuance about the death of George Floyd that no one dares to say out loud, which is that this guy was a scumbag. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder. Now, does that mean it deserves to die? That's two totally different things. Of course not. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. There's no such thing as white privilege or racism. So black people are allowed to talk about black culture in a way that white culture cannot. Black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you going to do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, I'm a grown man, I got Black people are allowed. Skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. This guy is not worthy of a national holiday. There's a mythology around MLK that does not warrant the reverence that he gets treated with in America. We have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time. Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more than the American founding. The country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. The death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is what your country looks like on critical race theory.
You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian?
Ketanji Brown Jackson is an embodiment of the tyranny that we currently live in. She's an ideological, unintelligent, yet confident fanatic.
Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right?
So she wants to be the first ever black woman on the Supreme Court, yet she won't even admit that she's a woman.
The transgender movement is an introductory phase. These doctors need to be put in prison to get you to strip yourself of your humanity. A Nuremberg-style trial to mesh with machines. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree.
Reject feminism.
Young women need to get married at a younger age and start having kids. I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here.
Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
You will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband.
You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it.
Democrat women want to die alone without children.
A lot of them are on birth control too, and birth control really screws up female brains, by the way.
It's really rich. I didn't know women not to complain 50 years ago. That's funny. We should tell them to stop freezing their eggs and start finding their partner earlier and have lots of babies.
Every single one of you need to make sure that your loved ones are not on birth control. So materially insane to think that 1 in 5 American women will be raped in their life.
It is. I agree.
No, meaning that they're lying about being raped.
You're comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. Because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies. By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. At what age should you start to see public execution?
16. I think you could do it earlier. I think you maybe at age 12.
I want to watch that execution. That'll make my day better. A lot. I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled, Alzheimer's, corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
The Democrat Party believes everything that God hates.
We're dealing with maggots, vermin, and swine here. These are not good people. They're not even a little bit good. In fact, I know people that went to Haiti passively as agnostic atheists, and they came back searching for Jesus because they saw legit demonic activity. Kamala Harris wants to see the elimination of the United States of America.
Democrat Party supports everything that God hates.
There's not much you can do, folks. You have a government that hates you. You have a traitor as the president. Buy weapons. I keep on saying that. The top Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault. If some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. Native-born Americans, you better buy weapons, everybody. Have a lot of guns at your disposal. I would never leave your home without a weapon. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. We actually need looser gun laws because I think that oh yeah, they said we have more guns at the Turning Point HQ than you could imagine. Yeah, if anyone ever tries to come, that will not end well. Oh no, imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson.
I am channeling the emotions of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican.
Also, you can support the African History Network through PayPal and Cash App. We have the information right on the homepage of my website. If you scroll down, $ the AHN Show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This is our Cash App. Tag $ the AHN Show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael and show my picture there. Okay, these are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts that have been stealing money from us. And I put our tag right here. Here's our link to our Cash App, QR code. Okay, so you can support us there if you want to donate support us $5, $10, $15, $25, $50, $100, whatever it is. It definitely helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, pay some of the bills, and broadcast the Sunday night show also. And here's our link for PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. Okay. All right. So look, we have to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. What kind